All right. Hi, guys. Welcome. We have another special edition of STEMsation Spotlight. I am super duper excited about our next guest. And I just found out that she lives in Orlando. We could have did this in person, but it's okay. Before I introduce our guest, I want to introduce myself and let you guys know why we're here. I am Nikisha Washington, the CEO and founder of Nyla Dene Enterprises, where we inspire and encourage young girls to have confidence, character, and class as they become our future leaders. We're a little biased, so we want them to become our future STEM leaders. But even if they don't become our future STEM leaders, we want them to have the skills and tools necessary to become our leaders in our society. And so we do that by offering products and resources. One of the things we have is our Nyla Nova character. And if you haven't heard of Nyla Nova, shame on you. Check us out at nyladene.com. We actually have a new adventure book coming out as well. So those are some of the ways. We also offer free resources for parents, coloring pages, activity pages as well. So check us out at nyladene.com. Also on nyladene.com, you will be able to read all about our next guest in article form. And so please, once we post this, I will make sure in the comment I share the link to her article. Please read it, share it, and put comments on there for us. So without further ado, I'm so excited. Let me introduce our STEMsation Spotlight for this week. Miss Shehara, she said like hair, so I know it now. Shehara Wooten, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
hi, welcome. And I love her
Thank
background. Oh
you.
my God, I feel like I want to go on vacation now just because of her
I
background.
know. Wherever this is, that's where I want to be. So I
Yeah,
had to pick out this picture.
I love it. And yours was perfect because normally people's is fuzzy. When I use my green screen, it's like I kind of, like fade back into it. But yours looked like a perfect picture, so I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I have some lighting here and, just some different things going.
I
So
love it. Love it.
thank
Well, please
you.
tell us about yourself. I'm gonna make sure that you get the floor. So
Yes.
let us know who you are, and I love that you're a career changer. So please talk about that process as well to what brought you into the world of STEM. So
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Nikisha. I'm so excited to be a part of this. And as she said, my name is Shehara Wooten, and I am originally from Columbus, Ohio. And while
you're
I was,
Midwest too, yes,
I am, I used to live in
Indianapolis.
Indiana, and
Yes, we're so connected
we
now.
are. There's
Yes,
too many connections, right?
yes.
But yes, I used to live in Fishers, Indiana, and all
Ooh,
that good
that's
stuff.
what we're probably gonna move back to. Like,
Oh my gosh, it was a great city.
it is. Oh my
Yes.
goodness! Like we definitely have to stay connected. This is
We
amazing.
do, we do. I know you guys are in the midst of moving, so I understand if we can't meet up in person before you leave, but when you come back,
I know we're gonna do phone too. We're gonna be new besties. I'm like,
we are.
hey.
That is so exciting. But yes, originally from Columbus, Ohio, and when I was young, I started to realize I was really good at math. But that wasn't always the case, and that's another long story. But it was really in third grade that I learned that I was really good at math, and then just going through school and finally getting to high school, it was the big push for engineers. So it was like I could become a CPA or I could become an engineer. And I did a career day. I went to go observe a CPA, and nothing against CPAs, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that because I was so bored and all that. But the guy was super nice. So later on, I said, you know what, I should do engineering because, and my parents obviously, had some influence with that. You're good at math. I didn't really like science that much, but
Math.
we could get through it, but math was my thing. So I decided right after college or right after high school, I decided to join engineering, and I was a part of a pre-college engineering program at The Ohio State University called Preface. Yes, and it just got me into feeling comfortable with being at such a big school. So I already was able to develop friendships. I got a feel for what it was like to go to chemistry class and math class and doing engineering graphics
Yeah.
and all those different things. So by the time I finished that program, I did get accepted to do an internship at IBM in Rochester, Minnesota. And that was right before college, right before my freshman year. So I just turned 18 and ended up going to Rochester for about 6 weeks, but that was the longest I had been away from home. So it seemed like forever.
Forever, of course.
And so I ended up going to IBM and doing my internship. And that was really, really a neat experience. And while I was there, I got to tour a section of the facility where they develop chips for computers.
Okay.
And at that point, I said, yeah, that would be what I would want to do. So that's when I chose electrical engineering.
I swear we're like Kendrick. Like,
yeah,
I went to Purdue, but the local one in Hammond, Indiana, for electrical engineering.
Yeah.
And I started having kids and family, so I changed to teaching. But like, we're just on when I'm listening to
oh my gosh,
and I just said, yes, around the time, you know, I was in my high school, I was salutatorian. So they was like, you need to go for engineering. I was like, what is an engineer? You know, like, had no clue. Okay. They're like, what you gonna go to school for? Engineering. And I must go to Hampton. But like I said, life happened and I stayed home, but I went local with electrical engineering for 3 years. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go over to teaching. But that is so nice. I'm listening to your story like, oh my God, it's so
yes. That is so cool. Yeah. And I was supposed to go to Spelman, but you know, but they didn't give me money. And so Ohio State did, and that's where we were. So we ended up going there. And it was 5 years, and it was super difficult.
Yes.
But you know, I made it through, and while I was in school is when I realized that I would not be doing that the rest of my life. I knew that I was going to do something else. But while I was in school, I did get an internship with Cutler Hammer. And at that time, they were doing and it was Eaton Corporation, really, their internship program.
Okay.
And at that time, they were doing a combination with Inroads. So they were doing the scholarship, but it wasn't Inroads, but they were allowing Inroads to help them work through their program and the different training that we would get. So we would get training on etiquette and just various topics that you might get, different workshops over the course of a weekend. So it was almost like a retreat for all the interns and a celebration that we were able to get this internship. So in addition to that internship, we got a scholarship. And while I was in the internship, I was in kind of like a sales department. So I was always exposed to sales, but I was on the plant floor and I always found myself socializing on the plant floor. Not so much being the like engineer. So so that's what I would do. And then sales was a good field for me, even though it was different. You know, it was definitely not a lot of analysis, but it was still that relationship building. And so I realized once I got out of school or once I graduated, I could have done some interviews, but I recommend that even though you've got a job lined up before you graduate college, still do interviews and check out all the different places. I didn't do that because I was like, well, this is the path of least
exactly where you
I gotta get this degree and I'm gonna focus on that, and I already got a job lined up. Yay! So, but I should have done some more research because I really liked in engineering, I really liked chip design.
Okay.
But what I ended up working with in my internships and what I got my first permanent job with was in power. So if you're an electrical engineer, power, that's probably one of the most, you know, it's not going to have the most advanced technology. Maybe now it does, but you know, at that time it was very much, you know, we were doing these huge breakers and just switches and things like that. So it wasn't as exciting, not for me at least.
I was just teaching, I teach a physical science class, and we were doing work problems and power problems, and they had to run up the stairs and calculate their power and stuff. So it wasn't one of the most exciting labs. So, you know, I can imagine just working on that all day as your career. You're like, okay. You know,
exactly.
You know, it's just like, okay.
Right. So I looked around and I was there. I got through my internships, got those scholarships, and those were really nice. And then graduated, worked for the company But while I was there, I just really said, wow, what do I really want to be when I grow up? And I felt like this is the time for me to do this because, why wait? And I was looking at, some of my colleagues, and I was just like, wow, I don't see myself doing what they're doing 30 years from now or for the next 30 years. So I came across a book called Purpose Driven Life, and by Rick Warren.
Yeah,
I think it just
love that.
come out.
I got the journal and everything. I'm telling you, we there.
Right, we are there.
The journal in the journal book. Oh yes.
Yes. So Purpose Driven Life, powerful book. And I also had a book called What Color is Your Parachute by Richard Knoll, I believe.
Oh,
but it's a really good book for helping you figure out what you want to do for your career. And through those two and through prayer and just really, really seeking God, because that's what I had to do. I was like, what do I really want to be when I grow up? I was like, what do you want me to do? What is my purpose in life? And what do I really enjoy? And one of the things I did enjoy was obviously socializing and just getting out there in front of people. I love public speaking. I love, building relationships.
Yes.
And I also enjoyed, the financial side of things. So I was really dabbling into that around that age because I was like, wow, no one taught us this. No one taught us to know what a credit score is or the budget or to get an emergency fund. Taxes. And I was like, wow, I never learned that. Nobody really sat down and taught. I would observe, and I saw my mom doing her checkbook, and we would very rarely talk about money. My dad would give me some money and I would buy, Christmas gifts and things like that. And I would, budget it out. Like I can recall, around 8 years old, getting $20 from my dad, going to Woolworth and coming back home and telling my dad I had 2 sisters, my mom and dad.
Okay.
And I told them I had $20 and I came home super excited that I was able to have enough that I could spend on everybody and still have some money for myself.
Wow.
Mind you, this was $20.
I know. I'm like, you did a lot with that $20. Well, you very frugal.
Exactly.
My budget. You stretched that $20.
I sure did. And my dad, he was like, good job. But I think about it, I thought it was funny that I made sure I was taken care of,
Right.
I knew that I divided 4 by 5, but I made sure that I had something in there for me. So and at that time, Woolworth was the store. So you could get some good gifts for a good price. So those were some of my first lessons in money that I remember. But I was just like, how do I get that out to people? How do I show people that, there's financial literacy and really helping people get there? And that's when I decided to change careers. And What Color is Your Parachute also helped me whittle things down to, financial services. So I started to explore that. And I've been in financial services, that profession, since 2004.
Oh, wow.
So over 15 years ago is when I changed careers from doing that kind of research. So
I'm sorry, my husband who's in financial services, he's screaming out, well, what'd she do? Calm down, baby. I'm going to get to it now. Remember, we're taping right now.
Right. I know. I'm not going to cliffhang anybody. I'm not going to cliffhang.
Yeah.
So my first job for my career change was actually with a big broker-dealer firm, and I was selling annuities. And so basically, should I share that? I mean, everybody can look on my LinkedIn, but
I think I got an idea.
I mean, it was ING.
Okay, yeah, like Prime America. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was ING annuities. And so basically what I did was I sold variable annuities to financial planners. So I was on an inside sales role, and I had an external partner, and the external partner saw those financial planners face to face. And then I would be on the phone and making sure that they understood everything about it when preparing for their meetings, that type of thing.
Right.
So it was a really Yeah, it was an interesting side of the business because a lot of people might come in as being a financial advisor or financial planner, but I came in actually helping financial planners.
Okay.
So those were my clients, and at that point I was living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then about a year later, I ended up moving to Phoenix, Arizona, and doing that same work. So I got a transfer out there. Yes. So we transferred out there, opened up an office, and I was there for about 5 years. I was so excited. And it was just a great eye-opening experience. I learned so much, and it was a great entry to the field.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll back up a little bit because how I got into that was actually everybody saw my resume, and at that time it was Monster. So they would look at my resume and it said, "Oh, electrical engineer. She works at Cutler Hammer. I don't understand what she's trying to do." So I finally found out about the wholesaling side when I ended up after I ended up talking to people about financial advising, and I couldn't really get into financial advising because I didn't have clients that had enough money.
Okay.
So I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to engineering. And then I was on a plane flight out to Ohio from Philly for Thanksgiving. And I met somebody on the plane and they were studying the same materials. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to be a wholesaler." And so that's when I learned about the wholesaling side, and I started going on Monster, finding wholesaling roles, and then I found a role.
Now, that wasn't a coincidence that you just happened to be on the plane with someone else, and because you were right in that fork in the road. Which way do I go? And God just so happened to plant somebody that is like, "Hey, I'm doing wholesaling." You're like, "Okay."
Yes, exactly. So I was like, wow, okay, I didn't even know that's something you could do. And he was like, yeah, you basically explain everything to an advisor. You show them how to do things, how this product works. And I was like, oh, I could do that. Mm-hmm. So then I found out about a job at ING and ended up having my resume sent to a friend of mine who was in HR in a completely different department at ING. It's a huge company, so nobody talks to each other. So, but I said, "Can you get my resume over to this department?" And she did. And once I got there, I understood that was a really big feat because even me, once I got there internally, it was very hard to get information to other departments. So
your time and where you're supposed to be. Hey,
exactly.
Open, and you're like, "What just happened?" And, okay.
Yeah. So I was looking back on that. I was like, okay, God, you really worked that out because once you see what's going on, once you get in there, you're like, yeah, this was kind of miraculous,
Right, right. Like I couldn't do this by myself. I had to have that extra help.
Exactly. So she was able to get it to the right people, and then they got it to the right manager, and he interviewed me, and I was in. So so the day of putting in my resignation, like that was just, I couldn't even sleep the night before, like it was just, I was ecstatic. I was on cloud nine. So, so I started that role. Like I said, I was there for about 5 years, and 2009, the market tanked. And at that point, it was like, whoa, I don't know. Maybe I should go back to engineering. Maybe I should do medical device sales. I don't know, because this is, whoa. And,
right.
There was nowhere to hide. People's accounts were going down by 50%. It was just a crazy, crazy time. So, so in 2009, I ended up putting my resume out there, but I wasn't really trying to highlight anything about financial planning or anything, but it was on my resume. And then I had my engineering stuff, and the company was Edward Jones, and they actually picked up my resume, and I did an interview there, and I really liked the autonomy that people had, and that they were able to, build a business without knowing a bunch of people. Because like I said before, I was like, wow, my friends don't have enough money, I guess, because they were like, yeah, no, we can't work with that, Shehara. And I was like, oh man, I guess I better go back to the drawing board. But with that new firm, 2009, I decided to go ahead and work with them because how they got business was they would go out and go door to door.
And see, that's what I
So
was
I was,
really nervous because I've checked into Edward Jones too, and I was like, oh, door to door. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that. So how did you like deal with that? Like overcome that? Like were you like, okay, cool,
yeah,
or how did you deal with that?
yeah, because when I didn't even know that's what they did. So when I went into the interview or the meeting, it was kind of like more so meetings another advisor. And she was just like, yeah, so we go door to door and all this. So I think I asked her about 3 times that do you go door to door?
Like to actual
So,
door, like
right.
not this door, but someone's home door. Okay.
Right, exactly. Let me get more specific here. So you're walking up to the steps and you're
Dog
knocking.
barking, opening up the gates, knocking on the door. And that's what I was like, are you sure? I don't know about that.
Exactly. So she said after I think the third time, she was just like, well, I mean, is there a problem with that? And I'm kind of in her interview, so I was like, oh no, no.
Right, no, I'm just making sure, just checking.
Exactly. So I ended up choosing to go ahead and go with them because I felt that I was able to start on a clean slate. I didn't feel like I had the network as my previous experience had shown when I was like, oh, I have my friends, but I didn't have that network of people that had a bunch of funds and a bunch of money.
Right.
So I was like, well, let me just do this. And so I ended up doing that for like 7 years. And then in March of 20.
So you was okay going door to door. You built up the confidence.
Yeah, I mean, from the get-go, I just got out there and did it because like I said, I psyched myself out like, oh, this is my opportunity to meet people. And, I wouldn't do it today. I feel like it's a totally different environment, but maybe it's not. I mean, I feel like there's other better ways to get business, but it did work a little. It worked a little. But I mean, like I can say like 5-6 years ago, I was stopped by the police in a neighborhood and, cause someone called and so I'm like, yes, I'm here doing work. And he was like, I just gave him my card and he was like, oh, I think I need one of you guys, So
at least you had a pleasant experience and not, because, it could be crazy.
Yeah. And so I just feel like now it may not be such a pleasant experience. So I don't know. I don't know.
Change now.
Yeah.
Style out there now for some reason. Well, we know why, but.
Yeah, it's different. And so that was about 5 or 6 years ago. So it wasn't that long ago.
Right.
But someone had called because they saw me, so I did go through a lot of weird things like that, going out door to door. But I think overall, just the experience of, meeting somebody, at their doorstep and then being able to take them through that process and build those relationships that makes it simpler for me now. So in 2016, I learned that there was a completely different side of financial services of the profession. And that was actually me going to become a registered investment advisor and also become a fiduciary. And so that was very eye-opening because then now I'm able to really put the best interest of the client first. So the business model would align with just really providing unbiased financial advice to clients and really making it so that I don't get paid a commission or anything like that. Okay. So I'm able to just look at, every product on the same level and not really focus on that, but focus on what the client really, really needs. So I ended up moving over to the registered investment advisory world. And in July of 2016, I started my own firm. Oh, and so I started, yes. So I started my own firm July 2016 as a registered investment advisor, and I'm fee only, so I don't get paid a commission for anything that I represent. So I just provide unbiased financial advice, and it just really allows me to have just an opportunity to share with clients what I really want them what I really recommend for them and not having any other noise.
Right. It's
So
like, now this one I get a little bigger commission, so take this one. Now you can actually give
yes,
that good sound advice that you can feel comfortable and you're good about that you're giving them. So that's good.
exactly.
So
So it
open up your own farm. Look at you. Yes.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So I called July 1st, 2016, my Independence Day. So
Yes.
yeah, so that Friday, right before the following Monday was actually Independence Day, you know, for the nation. But July 1st is my Independence Day.
Yes.
So and it's funny because that journey, and if anybody had talked to me any time before that March of 2016, probably in January, because things were really changing for me between January and March of 2016. But definitely 2015, 2014, years before that, people had asked me, would you ever do your own thing? And I was like, no, I mean, I already have a system. It's already built out for me. They tell me what to do. They've already got the history, the backing. I'm just going to stick with that. And I was like, why would I need to do that? But then as I started to see that, you know, things were becoming more about people having assets. And what I realized is that when you work with Gen Yers, millennials, when you work with some Gen Xers, they may or may not have assets. So they might have good income and that type of thing, but they don't have assets. So if you're on like a commission-based model or things like that within financial planning, you're going to have to work with folks who have a bunch of money to make a living.
Okay.
And it just wasn't aligning with, you know, with what I had changed careers for. I wanted to work with people who they needed the help. So if I advised you to get an emergency fund, honestly, I didn't get paid for that. I mean, there were some times when people would say, so are you gonna charge me for this? And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. And somebody told me, wow, somebody was like, that's pretty risky. And I was like, you know what, that is kind of risky of me. So so when this came about, I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. So basically I charge for advice. I charge a fee, and so it's very transparent. So everybody knows what they're getting. Okay. And then I still do investment management. So the name of my company is Your Story Financial, because I believe that everybody has a financial success story that they want to create, and I help them craft that by going through a financial plan and working with them on that. So yes, thank you.
Going on, so you just hit year 3. So how has the success? Are you seeing success from it?
Yes.
And what would you say? Would you recommend someone else, you know, like stepping out on their own and, you know, just having that purpose-driven life?
Yeah, I definitely recommend having a purpose-driven life. I don't think that you can really get through this life without having one, and whatever that purpose is, go for it. You know, I definitely recommend that. Time is waiting for no one. And so I would say that, you know, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. You know, it's not easy, but I think what happened was with me being at my previous firm, every month I had to find new business, and that was the only way I got paid. So that was the way that I was able to get that kind of mindset that you can start at zero every month, you know, and build out in that month. So it's pretty scary.
I bet.
Yeah, pretty scary, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I feel like, you know, the trajectory is getting better and better and better. So I'm constantly finding new ideas. I definitely have more freedom now that I have my own business. So I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram, and, you know, just different things that are going to help me. I do have an online course. And so and then I do speaking opportunities. So that's been really nice. And I focus on women professionals and STEM professionals. So I that. What was that?
I said, that's why you're on your STEMsation.
Yes, exactly. So I do find it to be an excellent thing. And what I've done recently, and so I'm still building, because, you know, with 3 years, you know, you're still building, but I'm also still building because I spent some time getting my certified financial planner marks.
Okay.
So that took a couple years to get that. So I maintained the business I had, worked with my clients, and didn't do so much of bringing new business in. And so now I'm on that launching pad again.
2020
Now
is
that
it. It's like, I'm coming for it. I'm coming.
Yes, yes. So it's really nice. Being a certified financial planner means that you went through examination. So it's a 6-hour exam. But before that, you had to get your education. So you had to prove that you had at least a 4-year bachelor's degree or a bachelor's. Mine was 5 years. So,
Right.
so you had to get a bachelor's, and then you also had to make sure that you you got your education requirement by joining an online school or going to another school, but in the topics of financial planning, I was going to say engineering, investment management, retirement planning, education planning, estate planning, tax planning, and ethics.
Okay.
So you had those 6 or 7 different courses, and then when you took that 6-hour exam, each question could have 1 or 2 or 3 of all of those topics in one question. So it was it's a very difficult exam, and you're really doing quick financial planning for clients, basically, in 170 questions.
Oh my
6
goodness.
hours. So so it's like having multiple clients all in 6 hours and just zapping out an answer for them. So it's a very intense exam, but then they look at experience. So you've got to have at least 3,000 hours. So by that point, I was able to account for my experience at the 2 previous firms that I worked at. So since 2004, so that was nice to be able to account for that and the experience that I had at my new firm. So it's a wonderful designation to have, not easy to get, but it really gives me that overall holistic view and helping my clients with their financial planning.
And I believe I always say people's journey helps shape them for where they're going. So all those experiences, your engineering background, the different companies you learned from the inside, now you're able to run your own. That's amazing.
Yes.
I am so excited. So someone, we talked about, just everything. Like, this is amazing. What would be your one key financial, like, tidbit nugget you would like to give everyone? Like to say, like, if they don't do anything else, at least do this. What would be that particular nugget?
Wow, there's so many things to do.
I know, but just like,
yes, but I would say, and this might sound a little like, oh, wow, yeah, we know that, but you really need to make sure that you have that emergency fund. And so, having the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of non-discretionary expenses saved up. And so what that'll do is when life happens, it's not if, you'll be able to take care of that situation.
Right.
And don't overwhelm yourself so much, trying to get to that, but just really start, if you start out like with your first job out of college, that is really just getting in that habit of automating that. Mm-hmm. And if you are, in a position where you are starting a business, or you have more like a cyclical income, maybe you're all commission and things like that, you would want your emergency fund in addition to having some type of reserve fund to tap into when you have those months that are lower than others. So I think those are really key things to do. And take advantage of, yes. And for folks that are young, I just think the time is on your side. Like, they're not thinking about it so much.
Right.
But that's the time to really start putting away. And then obviously, when you get older, put away and all that good stuff. But it's just, I just couldn't emphasize enough, like, putting away when you're young, and just getting in those good habits. And, and then the biggest thing too is net worth, knowing your net worth and building that, in the Black community. Like, since 1986, the net worth has gone down as a whole for the Black community by about 80 something bucks, whereas other communities, the white community has increased in that time frame by $1,000. So We
Wow.
have to really decrease that debt.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
That's because, and I can say, I know one of the reasons is social media, because everybody wanna floss for the gram, or want, so it's like they're out buying stuff to impress other people that have
yes.
no value, and it's like, look at this car, and they're like, when did but you still living at home, so it's, I think
Yes.
it became that, like, if you saw somebody riding down the street, you're like, oh, whose car is that? But now it's like, I gotta pose in front of the cars, I gotta wear all the name brand, I gotta show pictures, and then I can't wear stuff more than once, because if it's on Facebook and stuff, and so I know I even have fell into that, like, I can't wear this again. I tell my, take another picture, because they're gonna be like, did she just have that? But I think that's one of the things, is that we start trying to impress others, but not realizing, but we're steady going in debt, and we're not impressing them with the things that make, like, why don't you buy that building? Like, that's
Yes.
not nobody, nope, I'm gonna go buy this car and these Jordan, and stuff like that. So
Yes.
education, and I'm glad that you're in the position, because that's my question I want to ask you. By you being African American woman, in financial services, which is still, I always say, is still a arm of STEM, and you own your own firm. When people, because I'm sure you do it online and in person, but when they realize who you are, the person behind the firm, do you get any from, like, other, even from us, maybe even any national? Do you get, like, some pushback, like, I don't know if I'm gonna trust her, or am I gonna listen to her? Like, do you get that? Because that when you hear a firm, you're not naturally thinking there's a Black woman that owns the firm. So when you do show up, is it like, wait a minute, So, and how did you handle those situations?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. What's interesting is that when I started at my previous firm and I was working with individuals, I just had this idea that, I could knock on so many doors, call so many people every 2 weeks, follow up, ask the right questions, and they were going to just give me their money. Because that was the formula,
Right,
and I saw my counterparts, my white male counterparts, I would see everybody, doing these things. And I think one of the reasons, the reason why I started my own firm too, is I can help people regardless of their age or the amount of assets they've accumulated. I started to notice at my previous firm that I had people that didn't have a lot of assets. And all of a sudden, it just dawned on me, wow, these folks are attracted to me. We're doing business. I'm helping them with things that my white male counterparts probably wouldn't help them with. And so I remember having a client, he gave me a few $1,000s. And he already had millions at another brokerage, and he was a white male. And, it took me a while he never outright said it. No one's ever outright said anything to me.
It's those microaggressions and stuff.
Yeah. So nobody, if you look back on it and you go by like what people said, no one said anything specifically. But if you go by how much they actually gave me and actually said, I'll give her my millions. I'll, instead of giving her, 10,000, I'll give her the 3 million that I have sitting over here. And I wasn't able to get the 3 million, so I had to, honestly, for a while there, I was in denial. So I was like, surely that can't be it, and so, but when I did come to that reality, it was a harsh reality to come to. And I started to just say, well, what is a business model that I could work in that will allow me to even the playing field so that I can work with people, make a living, and not have to worry about, if they've got enough assets, if they've built it up, because there is a place for people who need to learn what is net worth, what part of the balance sheet do I really need to be focused in on. And that's what I really wanted to help people with. So, I can't say that I had anybody say, oh yeah, I'm not working with you because you're Black, or, anything like that. But I did see it economically. I saw it within how I was getting paid and how much was coming over. So I think that, says a lot when I would talk to And I was in Phoenix at the time, and I told one of my colleagues, he was a white male, and I had we both had the same amount of households, almost about 250, 250. My average household size was about 30,000. His average household size was 300,000.
Wow.
And he was like, why is that? Like, what? Like, what is this? And it was just like, I don't know. And I really didn't know. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me. So that March 2016, that whole year, that beginning of that year, it just was like the eyes were open.
Right. Now you're like
I was open. I was like, God probably was like, you know what? She's going to start her own firm. I know she's saying that she's not, but she is. And I'm going to open her eyes in this way. And it was like, oh yeah. And there was a little bit of, resentment about it. Like, what? How could people possibly? I did have someone take an idea that I had, and he took it to another advisor that he met online, had never met the person.
Wow.
And mind you, I met this person door knocking him, or, going door to door. And I really didn't mean it like this, but this is what it came out like. I was like, so you went ahead and took my idea and
gave it to
took those dollars to someone else? Yeah, Shehara, that's what I ended up doing. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, I mean, I know where you live, and I wasn't trying to say I know where you live.
Uh-oh. Ohio came out. She's like, look, I know where you live.
Right. Exactly. I was like, but I have a relationship with you to the point where I know where you live.
Right. That's what you like,
I know. It didn't come out like, and he didn't receive it that way, but whenever I tell the story, it's like, what? You said I know where you live, but I really did know where he lived. That's
right, but it's like, because we had the relationship, like this person on the phone, you don't even see this person, and you trust them, or someone comes to your home.
Exactly. So I said, this is my livelihood. You can't do that, and so that's when I knew it was like, okay, if I'm going to start doing that, then I need to be looking for something different. So that's where I would say that, that I had that kind of wake up call, so to speak, that said, you're going to either have to do something different, or who knows, like, is this even for you?
Right.
But I still knew it was for me. Honestly, I knew that I just needed to do it in a different way, and I didn't know how. And that's when I learned about being able to become fee only, and being able to charge people and work with people and make a living for myself, but also help them. And they would be able to pay without having had assets.
Right.
And so
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not, it's giving myself more options than just saying, oh, do you have 500,000? Okay, great, transfer it over and we can.
Right, it's like, no.
They're like, no, okay, I gotta get to 500 first, then I can get financial advice. No, so just kind of like a lawyer, a CPA, how they would work with their clients. That's how I work with my clients, and then they get coaching and accountability and things like that. So it works out well.
So where do you see, because this is your future goals, next steps, where do you see your company going? Like, like a year from now, 5 years from now, and then yourself? Like, I know you talked about other things you want to do as well. So what's your future goals?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I definitely see myself having a book. I don't love to write, I won't say that, but I love speaking. And I know that sometimes having that book format can just really summarize things for people and give them that guide. And so I definitely see myself having a book. Okay. And being able to provide that for people. And I also look at it as a way for folks who may not be able to afford what the services that I have, where they work with me one-on-one, that they'll be able to utilize the book and work it on their own until they get to that place where they can actually hire.
Me publishing activity books and children's books, I'm seeing you with a book, with a workbook. I'm already got plans we're going to talk about that, because I can see what you're saying, and like you say, still offering those resources, but it's still, and it's building more credibility and more, value to your name and your company, because you are offering this. If they can't afford the fee, hey, you can take this book set, work through the problems, do different things. And then, like you said, you have your online courses and your YouTube.
Yes.
So you're building a whole brand, and I love it because that's what it's all about now. So awesome.
It's
Awesome.
so true. So that's, yeah. So I do have a webinar that I've just scheduled
Okay.
for December 10th. So I'm going to be able to talk about it. The topic is called From Singles to Stacks, and creating your financial success story. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you had me touch on. I didn't even think I
I'm
was
gonna have to join it. I'm gonna make sure I get the link so I can sign up for
I
it.
sure
And I
will.
will make sure we promote it on our end as well, because I think that's something that's so important. Like, I'm all about encouraging and empowering. But one of the things that that can empower people is through education, but basically their finances, because finances control everything. Like, we don't want to believe, but it controls everything. And so if your finances are not right, then there's a lot of things that you can't successfully do because you have this hindrance. And it all comes down to education, knowledge,
So
knowing what
true.
to do, like, having the, like you said, learning about how you do your taxes and learning about different things and having a bank account and, just investing and stuff like this that we just expect, because schools don't teach that. They don't teach it on purpose. And I tried to tell my son, he had put something on Facebook. I still haven't used that slope intercept form. And I'm like, yes, because schools are not teaching you. They're teaching you stuff so you can go on to college and continue to use the stuff that you will never really use unless you go into that particular field.
Right.
But they're not teaching you how to live. They expect your parents to teach that to you. And if your parents are not very educated on that topic, or, because, our American community, sometimes talking about money is a cause for frustration and anxiety. So a lot of people, because I know even myself, my husband's like, let's talk about something. No,
Yeah.
I don't, so I know we don't pass those good saving and investment things down, and like I said, other families do, but we have to start doing it now. We can't continue to say, well, we didn't learn that in school. Okay, but it takes your time. You have to go out and seek that information for yourself now at this point.
Yes.
We have people like you that has firms and coming out with books and doing webinars. So there's no excuse anymore to say, I just didn't know. Now you know. And so I want to
Exactly.
we help promote what you're doing as well, because I think it's very, very important. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's so true. And so with my online course and just even some further things that I see myself doing, I work a lot one-to-one, but I also see myself doing one to a few. So having a small cohort of people where we talk about, like, my one of my courses is investing, foundation, fundamentals, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, learning all about that. And so so I see myself creating a group like of 5 to 10 people.
I see me signing up for that as well.
Yeah. So yeah. And so we would go through it. So I'm just, been thinking about like how I'm going to lay that out, but that is something that I want to do.
Awesome.
And yeah. And then obviously I still speak to masses, and do speaking opportunities to one-to-many is what I call it. Me to a bunch of folks, know. So that's how I see things positioning.
Well, that is amazing. I am so glad we had this time. Like, I've learned so much, and I feel, like I said, like kindred spirits. Like, I just feel like I've been knowing you forever. Like, it's just so refreshing. And then for you to take that step, you left engineering to go to the financial world, to leave corporate, to go build your own. Like, that takes a lot of faith. And I know everything you're saying with the books you've read and your faith, that's what made it possible. And so I definitely thank you for sharing your story. As I'm transitioning to doing other things, I'm like, oh, okay, God, I hear you. Like, it's like,
yes.
I needed your story to help validate what my story is going to be very soon. So
yes,
thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's powerful.
So, our last question is family influence. And it can be even just mentors, advisors that got you to this point, someone you want to thank that has been instrumental in helping you along the way, or come in at different points along the way and kind of got you over the hump. So this is like your Oscar speech. I would say this is his Oscar speech. Go ahead and thank everyone and send shout outs and stuff.
Yes. Well, wow, man. I was about to start tearing up thinking about the people. So that's a great question. So I have to start off with mom and dad. They were the ones that believed in me, and just really, they set the stage. They said, this is the level we expect of you. And they made sure that I was involved in a place that was going to pull that out of me, like schools that they put me in and that type of thing. And then after that, because you said different stages, I mean, they've just been throughout my life.
Of course.
You know, even the last years, I mean, you know, I don't have kids yet, but parents are with you throughout.
They are. That is so. They from conception on. Like
Right. They are just like,
and it's so funny when you come and be like, guess what I'm about to do now? They're like, well, like at the race, they've seen you like, I'm leaving engineering. I'm going. They like, okay, here she goes, you know. But they're still supportive. But they're like, they see the phone like, what's she about to say now? Where she's about to move to now? So.
Exactly. And they stayed, you know, super supportive. You know, thank God, you know, sometimes they're just like, we will support you monetarily. I mean, you know, that's a blessing, I'll say, you know, that they've been a part of too. And then also one person I'll have to say, I don't know where she is today, but my third grade teacher, Miss Gray.
Okay.
Miss Gray, because I came into third grade, and that's a whole different story, but I came into third grade not knowing how to read, write, or do math or anything. But by the time I finished third grade, I was able to do all those.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we have to definitely come back and talk about that story now. What?
That's a whole different story there. And she sat down with me after school and all that good stuff. She was from the Bahamas and a very strict teacher. But she got me together, and then I
think she did a very great job.
She did. I mean, for somebody who came in thinking that she was stupid and dumb and all this good stuff, that stuff. And she, you know, and she was just like, my parents were like, we got to change whatever's going on here, and God just brought her into our lives. So Miss Gray, wherever she is,
Miss Gray, awesome. Thank you out there.
Yes, thank you, Miss Gray. And then in the last 2 years, I got married, and so that's what brought me to Orlando. And I have to give a shout out to my husband. So
definitely now
he has been so super supportive in this adventure of me, you know, getting my CFP marks. You know, I couldn't have done it without him being there for me and just really pulling the weight where I was letting things go. You know, it was kind of like, I was like, thank you for doing that, you know. But he was like, you know, I want you to get this. So he made sure that he took care of everything that he could take care of during that time. So, and super my cheerleader, you know, ever since. So, so those are the 3 sets of folks that I have to, you know.
I'm curious, and I never got to go because we've been on. So you've been in Orlando about 2 years. Do you feel like this is where you're gonna be planted? This is gonna be home base right now, or is, you know, because you've been here and there and a little bit everywhere. So is this like home base for you?
I don't know. I like Orlando a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, and I wonder if home base is really a term for me.
Yeah, it looks like you.
Exactly. The longest I've lived in my adult life was in Phoenix, Arizona. I was there almost 12 years.
Okay.
But other than that, you know, Philly and South Carolina and Indiana and, you know, Phoenix, now Orlando, Columbus, Ohio. And it was just, and that's a whole different story how all that happened. So we'd have to talk another time. But yeah, so I'm open. You know, I have a virtual business so that I can go anywhere. And I don't have to feel, you know, strapped to my location.
Right.
And I'm sure that's part of the journey that God's created. Exactly. So I'm open.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for taking this time out. And like, we had a full hour of just talking, and it's so amazing because we're supposed to have another guest on, but I think it worked out just fine because I really got to hear your story, like hear the whole change. And one of the things I want to do with STEMsation Spotlight was to spotlight career changers and let people know it's okay, you know. And so you kind of went from engineering the financial world. I had a friend that went from financial to teaching, and you know, like there's always different changes, and it's okay. And people need to understand that, you know, you can be whatever age, just make sure it's something that you truly believe in, and you know that this is your journey. So I thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, thank you for the great questions. I appreciate it, Nikita.
Yes, this is awesome. And for our viewers, please, if you have questions, please, like I said, we're going to post this, add them at the bottom. We'll make sure we get them to Shehara so she can answer them as well. And then if you read the article, we'll post a link in the comments. You can contact her. It has her information there, like her stuff that you can contact and keep in touch, especially these wonderful webinars that are coming up. Because I am signing up. So I need you guys to do the same because she's giving out great information, great gems that we all need to be taking in and learning from her. So thank you again. We're going to end the broadcast. You stay on and stop the recording. But thank you guys. Stay tuned. We'll have some more wonderful guests next week. So thank you guys for tuning in.